Welcome to the Atomic Impact Podcast. I am your host, Jason Osborn. And on this podcast, we interview successful business owners for them to share atomic, impactful lessons that they've learned and can share with us as well. As always, this show is sponsored by the LinkedIn Reverse Podcast Method, the new way to close deals that doesn't rely on any of the old traditional methods that everyone hates. We use this method to book 26 qualified leads and get sales calls in 10 days without any ad spend, outreach, or endless social media posting. To find out more, direct message me on LinkedIn to have a chat. It's Jason A. Osborn, and the link will be in the show notes below as well. Today's guest is Oliver Thompson. He is the owner of Oliver Thompson Training, where he provides high impact performance coaching and group coaching as well for businesses and their owners. So, Oliver, welcome to the show. And I want to start off with asking a question I always love asking. And the question is this: if you had a time machine and you were able to go back to when you started your very first business, what's the biggest piece of your advice that you would give yourself just starting off?
Hi, Jason. Yeah, very good first question. There's a lot to go through that to unpack, but actually, I think the first thing is, and actually, I do a lot of teaching around this with entrepreneurs who want to start their own business, is that you can't work towards perfection to start off with. Actually, if you have an idea and if you have a business that you're passionate about and it's really compelling you to do something about it, obviously you have to put pen to paper and you have to put a business plan together, but you also have to look at why you're doing this and the impact that your decisions will make on other assets and factors of your life, whether it's health or family, etc. And then you have to do a very simple sort of black and white guide in your own mind as to the pros and cons. And nothing will be perfect. You have to understand that it's trial and error. You will try things. People won't buy from you. It won't resonate. The language will be wrong, but you still have to tailor and maybe optimize how you think about everything as you move forward, because you don't have all the answers when you start. You can only give it a go, test, operate, test again, and then just keep executing what you're trying to achieve. I think that's the most important thing. You know, failure is a good lesson for everyone. Perfection isn't really progress. You know, that's the key.
Yeah. I love all of that stuff. It's something that I often train or coach or teach or
Mm.
advise my clients with as well. And it's that aspect of, as you said, and I love it. It's just testing, right?
Yeah.
Testing different things, not being afraid to have it fail or not work. Is there an example that you can give that you've had in your own business where you've tested something and it's not necessarily worked out the way you wanted it to, but it actually led to something absolutely amazing for you?
Yeah. I've got a real life situation currently where I actually live in Spain, in Marbella, and I moved here a year ago. So I'm building my network here. And I love networking. This is something that I think every business owner should really embrace and learn how to do it, right? It's going out and meeting people and understanding their businesses. And I've launched a high performance mindset summit here in Marbella. So it's optimizing people's cognitive capabilities.
Mm.
And we're launching this. And our philosophy, first of all, was targeting people who are already performing at a high level, but just want that extra 1%, something extra, or they want the rest of their life to have more meaning. So they need to just pivot something. And what was
Yeah.
interesting is that messaging was quite forceful and quite punchy, and that's what I wanted, but it wasn't hitting home. So we weren't actually getting bums on seats as much as I'd liked, as quickly as I'd like. Okay.
Yeah.
So what we did is we then talked about the outcomes and the experience they'd gained from this particular 3 day summit. And guess what? You know, we tried that out and it landed more effectively, especially the outcome orientation. So what are you going to gain from the tools, the toolkit that we're going to give you? So
Yeah.
how's it going to change your life? How's it going to help you rethink and re-engineer, you know, this supercomputer in your mind? And it
Yeah.
was funny because I actually did think that the first angle was much more impactful and kind of cool, but actually it didn't land as well.
Mm.
So this is the most important thing. And then, believe it or not, we've then packaged it up with the experience, and now we're getting more conversations going about the experience. Well, what does that mean? You know, what are we going to experience when we go to the event, and what will that mean for maybe if I bring up some colleagues, etc. So
Yeah.
the whole thing has been really interesting, and we're going to change it from summit to retreat as well. Just the use of language, because here in Spain, retreats are much more effective. People prefer
Mm.
that. So it's having more downtime to learn these things rather than intensive learning. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And
Yeah.
I think that's um I love the willingness to of you to test something, change it, all of
Yeah.
that. And I think what I've read in between the lines of what you've said around this, and it'd be great to get your feedback on it,
Mm.
is you've done something that you thought would land well and it
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah.
And you didn't become emotional about it. You didn't become personal about it. You didn't become like, well, this is what, you didn't become attached to the messaging around it because it just didn't land. It didn't land.
Yes.
So, okay, you just, all right, well, that didn't work. Well, what does work? And I think from my experience working with clients, people can often get quite emotionally attached or really personal to, well, this is what I want it to be framed at. And if people don't like it, then and I think that can be quite detrimental to businesses. And I'd love your thoughts on that.
Totally agree. And you've really hit something there, which is, I have a team that's working on this. Okay. And this is, the first angle we took, we were kind of confident that was what it was going to be. And actually, with my business, Oliver Thompson Training, I do work with some really fantastic individuals who are high performers. But actually, you can't get too attached to that narrative. It's just a story you're telling yourself, okay? And if it doesn't land brilliantly, it's not that it was wrong. It might be timing. It might be the environment. It could be the economy. It could be just certain words or language patterns that you're using. And then you just have to re-engineer a different approach, and you just try that, and that might not work, right?
Mm,
But the thing is, it's the key to success is not high EQ, IQ, anything like that. It is literally grit and persistence. But grit and persistence doing the same thing is insane, obviously, as we know. But we have to be agile, and we have to be able to be flexible with how we approach something, but keep the outcome in mind and the strategy in play.
yeah.
And you're thinking alongside it. Your thinking will define the strategy, but it can also adapt the strategy. But that outcome is going to happen, right?
Mm,
And you have to believe in it so much, it's almost a delusion.
mm,
Does that make
yes.
sense as well?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Go on. Sorry, what were you saying, Oliver?
Well, delusions have a sort of negative connotation, right? You don't want to be deluded so that you go bankrupt, but you've got to be deluded in your own capability and the idea that you have, but be flexible enough to adapt and adopt new ideas.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense, and I fully understand what you mean by having that.
Hmm.
It's a positive delusion around what you're doing with it, where
Correct.
it's like, look, I'm gonna succeed no matter what,
Hmm.
and it's even in the face of something not working and or not working several times.
Yeah.
You just like, no, this is gonna work. I'm gonna just keep doing it, and I love that. I don't hear a lot of people say what you said, where you have to have grit around what
Hmm.
you're doing in your business. And I think particularly new business owners, they don't realize how hard a business can be. I was actually speaking with someone the other day, and they said the best personal development experience you'll ever go through is owning a business.
Oh yeah, without question. Yeah. I've had a
Yeah.
business now for in January it'll be 26 years.
Wow.
And the highs and lows are extreme. When the recession hit in the UK, I think it was 2008, I nearly went bankrupt. And then
Mm,
you have Brexit, then you have COVID, and you've got to be able, as I've just said, really, is the resilience to these levels of stress. And
yeah.
it's knowing that you can't control everything. Governments are not going to help you. Let's be really honest now. They used to, they're not now, right? So you
Mm,
have to optimize how you think, how your brain works. You've got to be physically and mentally as fit as you possibly can be to give you the best opportunity to plow
yeah.
through some of those challenges and come out the other side feeling like you've achieved something, because it is all about problem solving and outcome creation, having your own
Mm,
business, because every day will be a problem because
yeah.
you're creating something from nothing, which therefore means that you're going to have an avalanche of challenges.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
doesn't land on your lap, does it?
No, no. And that's not to be doom and gloom as well. I
No.
think sometimes people go, oh, no, I'll just be positive. But just, I think going into it with eyes wide open, going, okay, yeah, there's going to be challenges. That's part of owning a business. I think it's absolutely, yeah, just very truthful, honest, hard
Yeah,
hitting advice that people need to have.
that's
Um,
right.
if there was I'll ask a question in a different way, and it sounds like you've been through some things, which we all do in business.
Mm.
What's one of the biggest challenges that at the time seemed insurmountable? I know you mentioned possibly going into bankruptcy. You don't have to use it
Yes.
as an example, but something that seemed insurmountable at the time that ended up being almost like a phoenix for you, where you came out of the, oh my God, if I hadn't have gone through that, I wouldn't be where I am now.
It was that experience. I mean, I had basically, I run a coaching business and a training business, and there's lots of competition out there. There are lots of people that run training workshops and coaching, right? But I'd figured out over a period of time what my USP was, right? And I'd figured out my personality, my character, and you build that sort of avatar and you put that brand together, and that's what you get. And then you have to work at the brand. And I had a really successful business. I had 5 colleagues working with me. I had a nice office, a nice car, all that sort of good money coming in, regular clients. And then the recession hit. And literally, and I'm not kidding, within 24 hours, I'd closed down my office, I'd made my staff redundant, and I'd handed my car back.
Wow.
Right? That's absolutely true, by the
Yeah.
way. This is no exaggeration. And I think it was probably £86,000 worth of debt, I think. Just being very transparent about it, right?
Yeah.
But you have to
Yeah.
sit there and you have to get upset. You have to sit there and go, well, that's a disaster. And was it my fault? What wasn't my fault? But then what you have to do is brush yourself down, take a break. I took a break. I took 2 weeks out, right?
Mm.
And I just spoke to some of my trusted friends and family members, and they all said, you can start again, but just start with you, right? And go back to
Mm.
the clients that are committed to you and go back to them and offer them similar things to what you were doing, but you are delivering everything. And do you know what? I had the best 12 months emotionally, financially, health-wise,
Yeah.
because I wasn't having to look after other people in my business. I wasn't under
Mm.
pressure with cash flow as much. I had basically nothing to worry about in terms of cash. So all the
Yeah.
cash that was coming in, I could then put back into marketing and
Yeah.
rebuild the business. But you have to apply yourself to it. You can't
Yeah.
stress about it. You have to put the strategy in play, and then you have to have the tactics, but you have to have the gumption and the attitude and aptitude to go out there and chase these things down. So yeah, I did
Yeah.
pivot the whole business, which was great.
That's amazing, man. I love that. I love that. Such a great example of just pivoting and stuff.
Yeah,
Well, over the next 5 years, what are your goals? What are you wanting to achieve in the business?
I can tell you. The first thing is I'm going to launch regular summits or retreats here in Marbella, and then hopefully globally as well. So I've got some
Mm.
associates who are collaborating with me, some amazing individuals who are very successful neuroscientists, brain surgeons, entrepreneurs, coaches. So we're going to deliver some really amazing events, hopefully around the world. Also, I'm going to launch an online coaching company. I've
Okay.
got an online coaching app called the Business Brain, and then we're going to launch that. So any person out there who wants to become a really truly effective business coach will go through a 6-month program with me and my colleagues, and we'll use the app as the platform, and then you get fully qualified in business coaching and neurolinguistic programming, and then you can launch your own business,
That's awesome.
which is really exciting.
Yeah, that's very exciting. Oh, that's amazing, man. I love that. I love hearing the vision and the
Yeah,
drive they have for that, which is absolutely phenomenal in what you're doing.
thank you.
Well, I've just looked down. I was like, oh my gosh, we're pretty much up at time. So, Oliver, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure for you being on the show today. So, thank you for just being here. I really appreciate it. Some really amazing pearls of wisdom for people to walk away from, which is absolutely great. Or not walk away from, but walk away with, rather.
Yes.
But yeah, thanks so much for being on the show, Oliver. And as a reminder, this show is sponsored by the LinkedIn Reverse Podcast Method, the new way to close deals that doesn't rely on any of the old traditional methods that everyone hates. To find out more, direct message me on LinkedIn to have a chat. That's Jason A. Osborn on LinkedIn, and the link to that will be in the show notes below.